welcome to Whiteboard Learning Platform. My name is Anuradha Tripathi, and in today's session, we will be discussing the current affairs from the month of August related to the environment, geography, and the biodiversity related issues. So, the very first article that we will be discussing about the Vianand landslide. So, this article is published in the background. As we know that in the month of August, because of the heavy rainfall and other certain human-made factor, there was a landslide in the Vianad, Kerala. So, as per the Geological Survey of India, which is mentioning in this newspaper article, that approximate 49.7% of the area in the Kerala region is prone to landslide. So, this vulnerability of the Kerala when it comes to the landslide is not only because of the natural factor, but in the recent years it has been increased because of the human or man-made factor. Natural factor reason, for example, the heavy rainfall in this region, and apart from this, the certain topographic features which is related to the slope of the Western Ghat region makes the Kerala vulnerable to the landslide. And in the recent time period, we have seen that because of the human factor, the danger of the natural calamity have further intensified. For example, the construction, change in the crop pattern, among others. And apart from this, there is a rise in the tourist hotspot in this region, because of which the phenomena of homestay and monsoon tourism is the latest trend. So, which is further increasing the challenge for the Kerala state in terms of the landslide. So, to deal with all these issues, not only for the Kerala but for the entire Western Ghat region, Government of India have constituted a committee in 2011. In 2011, namely the Madhav Gadgil Committee. So this is an expert panel when it comes to the protection of the Western Ghat. This committee have highlighted that because of the construction of the resort and the artificial lakes and development activity, so there have been the challenge related to the vulnerability in terms of the disaster in this region. And apart from this, there is the changing, because of the climate change also have played an indirect role to further intensify the challenge of the landslide in the Western Ghat region. For example, in this region, the rainfall used to be drizzled throughout the year. But now, because of the climate change, there is a variation in the rainfall pattern, whereby the significant number of the dry days have been increased, and intensification of the rainfall within a very short time period, the rainfall is increasing, which is further increasing the challenge of landslide. And apart from this, another important aspect which this article mentioned about the monocropping. So there is a change in the land use pattern and the culture of plantation, which is further promoting the monocropping. So because of which, what is happening, the topsoil loosening, and when the topsoil is loosened, its intensity or the capacity to hold the water decreased. So therefore, there is another challenge of the landslide. So in order to deal with all these issues, this Gadgil committee recommended there should be the clear-cut demarcation of the ecological sensitive zone among all the 6 states from where this Western Ghat passes, right away from the Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra, Goa and Tamil Nadu. So in order to protect these states from the challenge of the disaster specifically, this committee have suggested that 1,29,000 square kilometer across these 6 states needs to be demarcated as ecological sensitive zone, whereby the various development activity can be regulated. And further, the committee also said that this demarcation of the ecological sensitive zone should be trifurcated into the 3 segments, namely ecological sensitive zone 1, 2 and 3, whereby the strict restrictions on the development should be imposed on the first 2 regions, which is zone 1 and 2. However, this report was rejected by all the states in the Western Ghat region because it will impact their economic development. So therefore, the Government of India again have constituted a committee, namely Kasturi Ranga, which in the comparison of Gadgil committee recommended that the 37% of the Western Ghat region should be identified as the ecological sensitive zone. So this is about this particular news. And apart from this, certain another fact which we need to see, because UPSC have already previously asked the question. So the first we'll discuss the question. For example, this is Gadgil committee and Kasturi Ranga committee report sometime in news related to which. So option A, B, C. Here the answer is option number D, which is the protection of the Western Ghat region. So certain another fact which we need to add. This Gadgil committee is also known as the Western Ghat Ecological Expert Panel. On the other hand, this Kasturi Ranga committee is also known as High Level Working Group on the Western Ghat region. And apart from this, the another difference is this Western Ghat Ecological Expert Panel, which is the Gadgil committee, is a statutory body which is constituted under Section 3 of the Environmental Protection Act. And this High Level Working Group on the Western Ghat have recommended this 59,940 square kilometers should be demarcated as ecological sensitive zone in comparison to 1,29,000 square kilometer area in the Western Ghat region. This is another important difference. But the government of India in 2017, out of this 59,940, have demarcated 56,285 square kilometer area as a ecological sensitive zone. So all these facts you should remember, which is very important from the perspective of exam. Now, the next news article here is about the changing in the development perspective in the Himalayan state region. This news article is published in newspaper. Why? Because in the past one decade, from 2011 to 2021, the urban growth rate in the Indian Himalayan region have been increased by more than 40%. And because of this rate of increasing in the urbanization, there is a significant challenge in terms of the sustainable infrastructure development in this region. So here, first and foremost, we should know that what is the Indian Himalayan range state. So that is consisting of 11 state and 2 UT. This 11 state is a 7 northeastern state plus Sikkim, West Bengal, Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, and these 2 union territories is Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. So here this news article mentioned that what exactly is happening in the town which is creating the issues of development challenge of infrastructure. So first and foremost, the issues related to the civic issues. These states are struggling to manage these civic issues because of the increasing in the tourism rate in the last few years, and then there is a issues related to the administrative aspect, whereby there is a lack of personnel in the city government to deal with this civic issues. So all these things are happening because of the unsustainable development of these cities in this Himalayan state region, whereby the issues of encroachment are specifically in the areas like Srinagar, Kashmir Valley is excluding the Srinagar and Guwahati are the example of such expansion, whereby there is an encroachment in the hinterland in terms of the open space, forest and the watershed areas. And because of this, there is also the issues of the water bodies that have been eroded because of this encroachment. For example, from the 25% to 19.36 square kilometers to the 14.44 square kilometers has been eroded. So all these are challenges which is increasing because of the rapid growth of the urbanization in the Indian Himalayan state. So why all this being happening? The reason being is there is a high intensity demand of the development which have been increased because of the rapid increase in the tourism. So unsustainable infrastructure development which have changed the land use pattern have further aggravated by the climate change also. So because of the climate change, the rainfall pattern have been changed in this Himalayan state region, and therefore there is a loss of biodiversity, increasing the population and increasing in the plastic waste as well. So all these issues are creating the challenge in terms of the change in the socio-cultural and economic fabric of the Himalayan state region. So in order to protect Indian Himalayan region or the range, what can be done? So first and foremost, there is a need of mapping needs to be done in order to identify the vulnerability, because each and every state is facing the different issues. So first and foremost, we need to identify the vulnerability from the geological or hydrological perspective, and after this the planning process should also involve the local people. It means to deal with the development issues and the sustainable infrastructure development in this Himalayan state region, the centralized approach won't work. So there is a decentralized perspective is the need of the hour in order to promote the sustainable infrastructure development which is rising because of the rise in the demand of urbanization. Now, the next article, which is about the Antarctic deep winter heat wave and what should be its fallout. So this article published in the Indian Express newspaper, which says that the ground temperature in the Antarctica region has been 10 degrees Celsius higher than the normal average. So during the winter season, temperature usually range in between -50 to -60 degree, but now currently which is at the rate of -25 to -30. So this rise in temperature during winter season is related to the rise in temperature, is related to the heat wave. So this article talks about what is the possible causes of this rise in temperature. So first aspect is related to the polar vortex, and another aspect is related to the Antarctica ice sheet melting, which is related to global warming. Here, first and foremost, we'll understand the polar vortex. So basically, polar vortex is a band of cold air which is spinning in the North Pole and in the South Pole, which is a low pressure system which spins around the earth in the stratosphere. So this is a low pressure area. So the significance of this polar vortex is that it keeps the cold air trapped over the Antarctica and not letting the hot air from the lower latitude to come in. So it means it act as this polar vortex act as a protective wall for Antarctica region. So now what exactly happened is during the winter season this polar vortex have been weakened. So because of this weakening, what is happening? So the cold air from the Antarctica region is trapping out, and moreover the warm air from the middle latitude is also entering into the Antarctica region, and therefore this temperature has been rising. So here the Antarctica and the not letting hot air come in, but it has been disturbed this year by large the scale atmospheric wave. This atmospheric wave is warm air from the middle latitude is entering into the Antarctica region. Why? Because polar vortex is weakening. So this protective wall is weakening, so therefore the temperature is rising. One more aspect that this article is mentioning, that because of the climate change, the Antarctica ice sheet, which is the world largest ice sheet, that is because of the global warming, there is a melting of ice sheet. So this melting of ice sheet is further aggravating the challenge of the high temperature. Why? Because this white snow is work as this white snow increase the albedo of Antarctica region. Here the meaning of albedo is the capacity to radiate back the insolation. So this ice sheet, the ice have one of the most highest albedo in terms of its reflection of the insolation back to the space. So now as we know that the global warming is promoting the climate change, so because of which there is a reduction in the ice sheet in the Antarctic region, that is also one of the probable cause of this winter heat wave. So the certain aspect that we should know about Antarctica from the perspective of exam. So we know that in terms of the area, Antarctica is the 5th largest continent in the world. So the largest, it is also the largest ice chunk in the world, and the second rank is of Greenland. That is also mentioned in the in this article. So the world Antarctica ice sheet, the world other major ice sheet is the Greenland ice sheet. So this Antarctica continent is further divided into eastern and the western section with the help of this Trans-Antarctica mountain range. So its eastern Antarctica region, which is also known as the Greater Antarctica, is having the old igneous and metamorphic rock. On the other hand, Western Antarctica region, which is also known as the Lesser Antarctica, is comparatively young and having sedimentary and volcanic rock. And this Western Antarctica region is also the part of Ring of Fire. So that we can easily understand because this is volcanic rock also. And another important aspect related to this Antarctica region is Mount Erebus, which is located in the Ross Island of this Antarctica region, is the southernmost active volcanic in the world. So this is about this Antarctica deep winter heat wave. Now the next article is with respect to the air pollution. So this article says that how can the traffic which cause the air pollution be controlled? So basically the background of this article is in terms of the air pollution which is rising in India, and because of which there is a health related issues. So some of the fact that has been mentioned is, as per the recent report, in India is home to the 83 out of 100 most polluted cities in the world. And apart from this, this air pollution in India is leading to the death of 2.1 million, which is the second largest after the China. So this over 99% of the population which breathe the airs is poorer than the recommended WHO standard. So here this article mentioned that what are the challenges of the air pollution in India and how it can be further deals. So as far as we know that the carbon dioxide emission is the leading cause of the air pollution, and this is also one of the prominent greenhouse gas which is promoting or the reason behind the present global warming. So as far as the road transportation sector is concerned, so as per the International Energy Association, which estimate that the 12% of the India's carbon dioxide emission are due to the road transportation, and which is also the vast majority of the PM 2.5 because of the heavy vehicles. So this particulate matter is basically creating the challenge which can reach to the which are microscopic in nature, and it can reach the deepest part of our lung and thereby creating the illness related to the respiratory tract. However, the challenge is not related to only the carbon dioxide or SPM 2.5, but it is also related to the nitrogen oxide. So nitrogen oxide is also having the capacity to cause the similar health related aspect. On the other hand, it also promotes the formation of the ozone at ground level. So this ozone at the ground level is another major pollutant which increase the health related issues, and apart from this, it is also decrease the worsening the impact of air quality and reduce the visibility. And in all these aspects, be it carbon dioxide, PM 2.5, nitrogen or oxygen, here the heavy vehicle is one of the major culprit. The several studies have shown that the heavy vehicles contribute to about 60 to 70% of the total vehicular PM 2.5 emission, but when it comes to nitrogen oxide emission, it is 40 to 50%. So now where the solution lies? So in order to deal with all this challenge, this article mentioned there is a need to increase the fuel efficiency in order to reduce the emission. On the other hand, there is a need of a better scrapping policy whereby the old vehicles which are less fuel efficient needs to be wiped out from the market. So first we will deal with the how we can increase the fuel efficiency. For that matter, Government of India Bureau of Energy Efficiency is leading a initiative, namely CAFE approach. Here, what does it mean? it is the corporate average fuel economy norms which is related to the car, and it is applicable only for the emission related to the carbon dioxide. However, this CAFE related norms is also applicable for all diesel, petrol, CNG, LPG and hybrid vehicles, whereby the emission of the carbon dioxide is going to be regulated. So this CAFE approach is having the two aspects. One is to increase the fuel efficiency, and another is by increasing the fuel efficiency, the air pollution will be dealt. So now the government is planning to have this CAFE norm third and fourth. So first we will deal that we should know that what was the first norm and the second norms. So the certain basic fact, this CAFE norm was released by Ministry of Power in under the Energy Conservation Act 2001. So the first time the CAFE norm 1, which try to regulate the carbon dioxide emissions, which is 130 grams per kilometer up to 2022, and from the 2023 the CAFE norm second, whereby the emission standard for the carbon dioxide is 113 gram per kilometer. So this you should remember. And when for the first time this norm was published by the Ministry of Power, so that is the 1st April 2017. So these are the certain basic fact which you should remember because it is mentioned in this newspaper. So when we talk about the latest norm which is Government of India is trying to formulate is CAFE third approach, that is going to be implemented from the period 2027 to 2032. Then the CAFE norm fourth, which is going to be implemented from 2032 to 2037. Here the emission standard for the carbon dioxide emission will be limited. When it comes to the CAFE norm 3, it is 91.7 grams carbon dioxide per kilometer. But when it comes to the CAFE norm 4, it is 70 gram carbon dioxide emission per kilometer. You must have also heard about the Bharat stage norm. So this CAFE norm is different from the Bharat stage because this is only dealing with the carbon dioxide emission. On the other hand, Bharat stage norm is not only dealing with the carbon dioxide but also the other pollutant, for example the nitrogen and sulfur. So those norms are more holistic in the nature, but when it comes to this CAFE norm, it is restricted to the carbon dioxide. So now the second major aspect which this article mentioned about the air pollution problem, that there should be a proper scrappage policy. Here the meaning of the scrappage policy is the old vehicles which are less fuel efficient, that should be scrapped off. So as per this policy in India, when it comes to passenger vehicles who are older than the 20 years and if they fails to meet the safety standard, then it should be scrapped off. But when it comes to the commercial vehicle, so the time period with respect to the scrapping is 15 years. However, there is a very non-uniform application of this scrappage policy. For example, here this article mentioned about the Karnataka. So the Karnataka government is not being able to implement these issues. Why? Because in Karnataka there is only 2 scrapyard, which is very essential when it comes to scrapping infrastructure. So another important aspect this article mentioned about the Maharashtra. So Maharashtra is one among the 21 states that have announced the incentive for discount on the road tax on the new private vehicles in order to encourage and scrap the scrapping of these old vehicles. In the last, this article also mentioned that what exactly further needs to be done. So this air pollution is not only related to the road transportation but other sector as well. So there should be the banning of the open garbage burning and checking the industrial emission along with this scrapping policy and emission standard norms. And apart from this, the only solutions which lies in the future is there should be the mass transit is the only sustainable method for tackling the air pollution in India.